Good morning, distinguished guests, graduands, family and friends. Welcome to Bond University graduation. Please take time to note the nearest fire exit to you. They are located in each corner of the auditorium. In the unlikely event of an emergency, please follow the directions of university staff. As today is a very special occasion for each of the graduates, we ask you to please turn your devices to silent and remain in your seats for the duration of the ceremony. For those who cannot join us today, a live stream of this ceremony is available from the Bond University website and YouTube channel. Graduates, I will now take you through the protocols for the presentation of awards. When directed by staff, please proceed in your order of seating and line up along the stairs to my right. When your name is announced, proceed to the table at my left to take your testamer and proceed across to the far side of the stage to have your photo taken with the presiding officer. Once your photo has been taken, please proceed up the middle aisle at the other end of the theatre and you'll be directed back to your original seat. The formal proceedings will commence shortly, but first, please enjoy a short presentation celebrating 30 years of Bond University.
Today, as of this moment, vision has become reality. The way is now ahead. From sandstone and a strong, unwavering vision, an institution was built to offer a student experience without peer. A university created to redefine the landscape, setting new heights for global education. In our first 30 years, almost 30,000 alumni have passed through our doors.
All our graduates to extend. Be successful, have great careers, and never forget Bond University.
With an unbreakable bond to the international networks and experiences that position them for success. Together, we have built a legacy. A legacy that continues to evolve today.
Bond University will take its place among the great universities.
As we strive for and reach new horizons in personalized learning, we continue to deliver a truly remarkable global student experience.
To my fellow graduates, thank you for your friendship. Please cherish the memories and friends, but continue making new ones. Goodbye and good luck.
Since 1989, Bond University has forged the way in law, business, society and design, health sciences and medicine, and sport. Led by great minds.
Bond University will become a magnificent jewel in the crown of Australian tertiary education.
With an even greater vision for the next 30 years and beyond. It's because of those who came before us that our future is limitless.
Will you all please stand for the academic procession?
Please be seated. Graduates, family, friends and supporters of the graduates, my university colleagues, special guests, welcome to this morning's graduation ceremony for students from the Faculty of Law at Bond University. Will you please join me in thanking our Pipe Major Nick Tompkins. In addition to being an outstanding piper, Nick is also a graduate of this university, having graduated in 2014, completing a dual program, Bachelor of Commerce and Bachelor of Laws. Thank you, Nick. My name is Tim Brailsford. I'm the Vice-Chancellor of this great institution. And on behalf of the university community and behalf of all of you, I acknowledge the people of the Yugambeh language on whose ancestral lands our university now stands. And I pay my respects to their leaders, elders past, present and emerging, and I do so in the spirit of reconciliation. I acknowledge the presence of my fellow member of the University Council and proud alumnus and indeed foundation student from the class of 892, Mr. Derek Cronin. Mr. Cronin will be the presiding officer for today's ceremony. Regrettably, our Chancellor, the Honourable Dr. Annabelle Bennett, is a resident of Woollahra in Sydney. I probably need to say no more. Most regrettably, and she literally only yesterday cancelled her plans to travel up here. However, she will be watching this ceremony, I'm sure, with interest. But sadly, the unpredictable nature of this pandemic has also meant that several of today's graduates are unable to be here and join with their peers in celebrating what is a wonderful day on your individual and collective achievements. So this includes a number of international students who are located in varying locations around the world. So when the pandemic was declared and essentially hit the Australian shores in about March last year, a number of our international students decided to return home to spend what was meant to be just a couple of months with their families. And unfortunately, those couple of months have now stretched well into 2021. So those students have been studying with us remotely, i.e. online, and we sought to engage them as much as possible. They are certainly very much still part of the Bond community, and a number of them are part of today's graduating class. Indeed, there are students from 15 different countries who are graduating today. And as a result of that, today's ceremony is being videoed and recorded and will be available to watch for all of those graduates. And I also reach out to our Victorian and Sydney-based graduates, and I know that there was some last-minute scrambling. With some remarkable irony, I note that Victorians will be able to enter Queensland from the wee hours of tomorrow morning. and of course, it was only yesterday that Sydney-siders were declared ineligible to enter Queensland. So we've got graduates sitting in 15 different countries, graduates sitting in Melbourne and Victorian country towns, and graduates sitting in various suburbs of Sydney. There are two cameras there, and I think it would be apt, particularly for our graduates, if you just briefly turned around to the cameras and gave a bit of a wave and a smile to your fellow graduates who are unable to be here. So everyone, we're thinking of you. COVID has impacted on almost every aspect of our lives, and its impact has been wide and varying, both in a health and economic sense. We have been extraordinarily fortunate in this island called Australia to have been spared, at least for now, the worst of the health pandemic. And there is plenty around us each and every day to remind us that we're in the midst of a quite remarkable period in human history. But today is not a day to dwell on COVID. Rather, let us enjoy this moment, celebrate the achievements of our graduates, have a great time, recognise that these particular moments that come across in a person's life are few and far between. And while this moment may, in your own personal histories, be just a fleeting moment, I trust that it is a very important memory, and a memory that you hold with much fondness in the years ahead. You each have a copy of the program where you can follow the list of graduates, and I trust that you all enjoy the ceremony, respect and acknowledge each and every one of our graduates as they come across the stage here, and certainly feel free to congratulate them roundly as they receive their testamenters. To the graduates, on behalf of the university, I congratulate each and every one of you on your achievements. Today is the culmination of many years of hard work, of dedicated effort, of long hours, of endurement, of both academic and personal challenges. So my congratulations to you. Before we move to the individual presentation of graduates, on sparing occasions, the university makes a special award to an individual who has made an outstanding contribution to this university over a sustained period. In particular, the title of Emeritus Professor is a rare honour, awarded only when the candidate has demonstrated exceptional service to the university and their professional community. This award has previously been given on just 14 occasions in the university's history. Mr. Cronin. James, better known as Jim Francis Corkery, commenced formal duties with Bond University as a Foundation Professor of Law on the 1st of December 1988. Indeed, 6 months before the university officially opened its doors to our very first student cohort. Professor Corkery began his academic career as a teaching fellow at the University of Otago in New Zealand, before moving over the ditch and joining the University of Adelaide. Immediately prior to his appointment at Bond, Jim was chairman of the law school at the University of Adelaide. Now, for more than 30 years, Professor Corkery has been a prominent and influential champion for the Faculty of Law and, more widely, his beloved Bond University. He was a key player in the history of the university and has led or contributed to many of the planning and development activities of the law faculty. He has gone to great lengths over the years to stay in touch with and support Bond's alumni. He's established and hosted alumni dinners and events for alumni in London, Paris, Bergen, Oslo, New York, Toronto, and almost every major city in Australia. Jim has also served as a consultant to many commercial law firms and has established impactful relationships with the legal profession and the judiciary to the benefit of the law school and the wider university. His expertise lies particularly in corporate law, taxation law and sports law. He has a national and international reputation in each of these fields. He founded 6 law journals and has sat on the editorial boards of several international journals. Professor Corkery is the founder and co-director of Bond's Centre for Commercial Law, a centre for corporate and commercial law research and scholarship, which also hosts international conferences. For many years, Jim ran a philanthropic program in his classes in sports law. The purpose of that philanthropic program was to send sports equipment to less privileged communities in various parts of the world, such as South Sudan, Tibet and India. After almost 32 and a half years of service, Professor Corkery will retire from the university at the end of this month. It is with great pleasure that I now present Professor James Francis Corkery for the honorific award of the title Emeritus Professor. Jim, I offer my congratulations and thank you. Just before we move on, I should note that some of you may be aware that there was a very serious accident on the M1 earlier this morning, and so we have a handful of our graduates who are stuck in traffic, and so we may have a couple of late entrants as we move through the order here. So please forgive us if the names don't completely correlate with who we have in the room. I now ask that the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Law present his graduates individually to the presiding officer. I ask Professor Nicholas James to come to the podium. Professor James.
Thank you, Vice-Chancellor. Before I formally present the graduates, I'd like to remind the graduates that they should remember, please, not to sadly shake hands with the presiding officer. Further, members of the audience are asked to please remain seated at all times while the graduates are being presented. It is with great pleasure that I present graduates from the Faculty of Law. Anjana Banerjee. Siggy May Helen Bush. James Lachlan Crane. Maya Munzel here. Keegan Sherry. Lauren Francesca Facey. Kezia Elise Tangyen Wright. Sophia Jane Azapadi. Taylor Isabella Birchnell. Max Jordan Teo Henson. Michaela Ray Phipps. Samuel Quinn. Madeline Ransley. Kelsey Suzanne Allen. Ross Gabriel Burrell. Jai Chen. Adelaide Etzel. Martin Francis Floro. Millie Grace Jones. Elira Pevriel Nelushi. Neve Elizabeth Nolan. Michaela Emily Opie. Crystal Helen Paris. Grace Kelly Scanlon. Emma Rose Senior. Eden Millie Takatley. Yiting Christine Chen. Bianca Johnson. Albina Jasufi. Giselle Sana Kilner-Pimenta. Annabelle Elizabeth Lambert, sorry. Yushan Huang. Jian Long. Jihei Park. Hui Wang. Yushen Wang. Yanan Ding. Yanwan Xiong. Megan Frances Jane Borg. Dimian Arian Wilson Gray. Samuel Thomas Hunt. Alexander Xavier Moriarty. Recipient of the Grenby Family Beyond Bond Medal, Joel Philip Atkins. The Valedictorian has been selected to give the valedictory address on behalf of the graduating cohort this morning. She has placed on the Vice-Chancellor's list for academic excellence in 9 semesters and managed to achieve first in class in 11 subjects. She has achieved a cumulative grade point average of 3.81 out of a possible 4.0 and a cumulative percentage average of 87%. I also have had the pleasure of working closely with the Valedictorian for several years, particularly in her capacity as President of the Law Students Association. And so given her considerable service responsibilities within the faculty, the fact that she was able to achieve such an impressive academic record is outstanding. Graduating with a Bachelor of Laws with first class honours, Renee Shike.
Vice-Chancellor, Executive Dean, members of faculty, distinguished guests, friends, family, and of course, my fellow graduates. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which Bond stands, the Kumbumaree people of the Yugambeh language group, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. Indigenous people were this country's first lawyers and advocates, and as law graduates, we should also recognise that the law plays a central role in reconciliation. Sovereignty to this country was never ceded, and this was and always will be Indigenous land. It is my absolute pleasure to be delivering this address today among such an exceptional class of law graduates. And it's certainly been a journey to get here today. Some of us always dreamed of studying law. Some of us travelled from around Australia or around the world to study here at Bond. And some of us took some time to get to know ourselves before realising that Bond law was the place to be. But what we all have in common is that we all sat in our rooms on a random afternoon in week 13, hit submit, closed our laptops, and realised that we were done. We had officially, and perhaps unceremoniously, finished our degrees. After I closed my laptop, I came back to campus to take it all in one last time. I walked through the law library and gave Tyson the juror's dog toe pat to thank him for his service to my mental health, and I appreciated the faint whiff of stress in the air that, for once, was not my own. I went to Papyrus and bought a coffee, which I've got to say simply didn't taste the same as it did when I was downing it, like my life depended on it. And finally, I went to Limitless. Limitless was built to represent Bond's first 30 years and its future. And as I looked upon the names of the graduates from our first 30 years, I began to think about what makes a Bondie a Bondie. And I boiled it down to 2 things: excellence and service. Excellence. I think this room speaks for itself. We have future lawyers, politicians, humanitarians. The potential in this room is limitless. And this potential was fostered in our time here at Bond, where we've all flourished thanks to this incredible community. Our lecturers and tutors, who have worked tirelessly to deliver world-class education. They've freely shared their knowledge, shown us compassion, and celebrated our successes alongside us. Our university leadership, who know our names and say hi as we pass by, and have always put our student experience first. Our librarians, who are always there to assist in our research, just chat about life, and kindly turned a blind eye when we brought back one too many Red Bulls after ProTrack. Our support staff, who work behind the scenes in the SBC, CDC, Event Centre, food and beverage, and in the offices of our executives. They've made our education, industry experience, and survival here possible. Our family and friends who have been by our side through the highs and lows of university life and beyond. All of these people who have been part of our bond journey have shown us the power of being there for others, instilled in us a spirit of giving, and given us the skills to adapt and respond to unprecedented circumstances. On behalf of this graduating class, I say thank you. But it's not just the university staff that have shaped us. We've also shaped each other. I simply wouldn't be here today without the support of my fellow graduates. Some of us met in our first lectures and tutorials, and we stumbled through our first skills assessments together. And some of us met along the way and went on exciting adventures, whether that be overseas or just through the streets of Cavill Avenue. Each and every person here today has had an impact on me in some way, and I am proud to stand with you all on the precipice of a new adventure. As we embark on these new adventures, we also join the ranks of an incredible alumni network. The bondies that have come before us are real world shakers, and they've shown us the power of being there for others, which also brings me to my second thing that makes a bondi, service. I've been lucky enough to experience firsthand the great things that can happen when Bond alumni use the privilege of a Bond education to help others. They're mentors, sponsors, and an inspiration to us all. And whilst the world has really undergone a shake-up over the past year, there are still so many more aspects of this world that need to be tipped upside down. Today, we are privileged to walk out into the world, brains full of knowledge, degrees in hand, with endless possibilities at our fingertips. We have the critical thinking skills and resources to change the status quo and make the world more equitable for everyone. But not everyone has the privilege of education, like the estimated 11 million girls who will not return to school following the pandemic. And it is statistics like these that remind us why we are so lucky to be here today, and remind me why I chose Bond Law. Because of Bond, we are now equipped with the one skill we need to not just speak up, but to effect meaningful change. And that skill is advocacy. For me, advocacy has been central to everything I do, because it's advocates who paved the way for someone like me to not just exist, but to thrive in this world. As a queer Asian Australian person, I stand on the shoulders of people that have come before me, who fought for representation and amplified the voices of those with different experiences than them. And now, it's my turn to do the same. It's our turn. For me, this means speaking out against legislative changes that threaten trans and gender diverse people by removing access to gender-affirming surgery that is suicide prevention. It means fighting for real climate action. And it means advocating to raise the age at which children can be incarcerated, because current laws disproportionately affect Indigenous children. Of course, we can't all change the world immediately, but by changing the hearts and minds of those around us, by challenging biases, breaking down stereotypes, and giving our unique perspectives, we can still effect meaningful change in this way. We are now all Bond Law graduates. We have the skills and network to make our voices heard and to amplify the voices of those around us, who perhaps have not been afforded those same opportunities as us. As the sun sets on our time here at Bond, and the sun literally set on Limitless as I stood there thinking about all of this, I asked the question, what's next? Limitless was built to represent the limitless opportunities that are created by education. However, I don't think it's just education that makes our futures limitless. It is a Bond education. A Bond education gives us a voice in places that matter. And so whichever path you take, I know each and every one of you will remain true Bondies, exhibiting these qualities of excellence and service. None of us have absolute privilege, but what we do share is the privilege of education. And we should use this privilege to improve the world and make it a wonderful place to live for us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Ladies and gentlemen, will you join with me again in thanking Renee? You are a great credit to yourself, to your family and to this institution. So my congratulations to you all. Before we get to the close of the ceremony this morning, we have a few formalities left. But before I do, as our Valedictorian has so eloquently spoken, you are now about to join, or you have joined, over 30,000 Bond alumni who have come before you. And while this university is relatively young compared to many European universities, we have a wealth of outstanding graduates who are now placed all around the world. And despite the pandemic, this university remains committed to international engagement, and our graduates remain committed to international mobility, cross-cultural awareness, and realising that true change must occur at the global level. So while for probably the next at least 12 months, I guess, we will be locked in this little bubble island called Australia, but when the opportunity presents itself and you do travel, no matter where you go, you are sure to run into a Bondi somewhere around the world. As you leave today, I ask you to remind yourselves just how significant a commitment it is to achieve what you have achieved. And I'm not just talking about your personal exertion, the long hours in the library, the dedicated study time, the personal self-sacrifices you've made, but I'm talking about the sacrifices that those around you have made. In many cases, there will be family, parents, grandparents perhaps, partners who have made a financial contribution to support you during your studies. As a private independent university, part of the cross that we bear is that we do not receive any government support for your education. We are self-financed. And while we are a non-profit, the consequence of that is that students must pay their tuition. And so as you leave today, recognise that your journey to a Bond degree has not been solely attributable to your own endeavours. Indeed, you have had a support network. And I ask you to reach out to your support network. Some of those may be in the audience here. Others, in many cases, will be distant. When you reach out to them, and I can tell you this from personal experience because generally people of my age still regard that mobile device as having a core function, which is a telephone. I ask that you make the call. Don't send them a message on Facebook. Don't send them a text. They would love to hear the sound of your voice, I promise you. So sometime during the course of today, for our graduating class, find a moment, find the time to say thank you. So to each of you, as you now join the alumni network of Bond University, I wish you well. If you thought the last few years have been challenging, I'm afraid to tell you that the next few are going to be just as challenging, if not more. At some point in time in your life, I think everyone goes through moments where you reflect and you think, it's pretty hard. And indeed, life is a very difficult journey at times. But I trust that your education here will stand you well when you reach those moments. But moreover, I think that the values that this university carries, and indeed the personal networks that you have formed, are able to provide you with the support that you will require. As you leave, you should be immensely proud of your achievements, as indeed everyone in this audience and the wider university is. And today is a day of great joy and great celebration. It's an opportunity, one last time, to be a Bondi on campus. And so whatever you have planned for the rest of the day, certainly wander around, enjoy the campus. As I think our graduates know, that there are refreshments and some food over at Don's Tavern. I think every one of our graduates will know where that is. So please take advantage of that. And as you pass the Alumni Centre, I understand that there is a gift for you, and there is certainly an opportunity there to take a photo in front of the sign that we've installed there, Bond Alumni. So enjoy your day. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. It's been a great pleasure to see the smiles on your faces as your loved ones have come across and received their testaments. Part of the tradition at this university is that on graduation day we dress up in fancy dress, but the Vice-Chancellor, as indeed all my predecessors have, I read out the charge. And so this is essentially an ode, if you like, on graduation. This is a statement as to values and principles. So graduates, I ask you to stand as I read the charge. And after the charge, I will ask you whether or not you accept. And if you don't accept, you can hand your degrees back, please. Graduates, I charge you as graduates of Bond University to demonstrate at all times the highest moral and ethical standards, to apply your learnings and education to the benefit of society, to pursue the highest standards in all of your endeavours, with excellence always your aim, and to support forever and enhance the reputation of your university through engagement as proud alumni. Graduates, do you accept that charge? Brad, will you start collecting the degrees? Let's go again. Graduates, do you accept that charge? Yes. Thank you, that's better. Please be seated. So that brings us to an end in terms of the formalities. As I say, have an absolutely wonderful day. Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, this is your last opportunity to make a bit of noise for the graduating class from law at Bond University. So how about it? And again, to all of those graduates who unfortunately were unable to be here with us today, we send you our wishes and trust that you also have a great day. I now ask if you would all be upstanding for the departure of the procession.